I think the sort of God who touched off the universe and then has been absent ever since is not the experience of Christians. So this kind of gets into the more experiential mode of believers. On the scientific side, I mean, we certainly see, I believe, a universe that's begun energetically, and we're watching how this evolution of the universe has progressed, how galaxies have matured. We can see in the more distant galaxies, which is like a time machine, you're looking back in time. As you look to the more distant galaxies, it's taken light longer to get to you. So you're actually looking at those galaxies as they were. So the more distant galaxies are the earliest ones. They are less mature than the galaxies that are closer by. You can see how this chemical process of stars creating heavier elements have changed the composition of galaxies over time. And so you can study the mechanistic process of this going on. So you could, in fact, say that if some divine force had set it off and let it go, that in fact it is unfolding according to the physical processes. Now, does that mean that there is no personal God? I would say absolutely not, because there's something else going on. And that is that human beings experience other things besides simply existence, besides simply the fight for survival. And, there are some sociologists that might disagree with me and might say that everything can be described by mechanistic processes, that we have simply evolved to the point where we have these very complex social interactions and so forth. But I would say no. I would say that what the scriptures describe is a human situation that both gives evidence to and requires the need of an interactive God, that we have actually demonstrated all of these characteristics that go beyond simple, physical evolution to the point where we are acting selfishly, acting lovingly. We're experiencing the presence of God. We're experiencing what we would term as horrific crimes against other people, crimes against nature. Why do we know that there are crimes against people? Why do we know that genocide is bad? Why do we know that destroying our planet is a bad thing? Why do we care about what's happening to Arctic animals that are suffering from the loss of sea ice right now? Why do we care about climate change? Why do we care when somebody does us wrong? Why do we think that they've done us wrong? What's the idea of right and wrong? These are all biblical principles, that there is such a thing as right and wrong. And the God of the Bible is not a hands-off God. The God of the Bible is a God who is responsible for all these physical processes, but is in fact very much involved, not in the sense of reaching in and tweaking physical processes and changing things. I mean, and then you would have to say that this God wasn't very good at the beginning if God had to reach in and change things every 10 minutes. But in fact, that this God has set forth in motion a universe that's allowed human beings to be here now with the hope of having a personal relationship with God. In fact, if you start reading Scripture from the beginning of Genesis all the way through the New Testament, you see that what God has really wanted as sort of the pinnacle of this whole process of the universe is to have creatures to have a relationship with.